Welcome to MALDEF's 2013 Los Angeles Awards Gala. Tonight is brought to you by the generous support of Walmart, helping communities save money and live better. Anheuser-Busch, a better world through our responsibility. Toyota, where diversity and inclusion turns the key. And the Honorable Fabian Nunez. MALDEF thanks its national sponsors, Anheuser-Busch, McDonald's, the Sidley Austin Foundation, Sodexo, Southwest Airlines, and Univision. MALDEF is proud to honor actor and activist Lupe Ontiveros, the Executive Director of the California Rural Legal Assistance, José Padilla, and community organizer and longtime activist Paul Schrade. With presentations by members of the original cast of the iconic play Zoot Suit, the star of the highly anticipated film Cesar Chavez, Yancy Arias. From the hit TV show Devious Maids, Eddie Gannum. And the incomparable Dolores Huerta. Please welcome Emmy Award winner and your Master of Ceremonies for this evening, Jordi Villasuso.
There we go. Is everybody taking a seat? You please sit down, please. I'm here now. You can all sit down. Thank you. Good evening. Welcome to MALDEF's 2013 Los Angeles Awards Gala. My name is Jordi Villasuso, and I'm honored to be your host this evening. We come together this evening as a community, not only to celebrate MALDEF's hard work over the past year, but also to pay tribute to our distinguished honorees. MALDEF is the Latino legal voice for civil rights in America. Come on. Woo! This past August, MALDEF reached a milestone. For 45 years, MALDEF has been at the forefront of civil rights litigation, setting landmark precedents in many cases and establishing new systems to hire and promote employees, educate children, and ensure Latinos have equal access to voting. Legal action, yeah. Legal action is one of the most powerful vehicles that we have to ensure that the Latino community enjoys the same constitutional rights as all Americans. And MALDEF has not hesitated to take legal action on behalf of Latinos who are denied basic rights, services, simply because they are Latino. Thank you, David. As many of you know, Eva Longoria is a staunch supporter of MALDEF, and she deeply regrets that she cannot be here this evening to participate. But we have an amazing program for you, so let's get started. Many of you are visiting our great city from all over the country. So we have invited the most appropriate person to welcome all of you and greet everyone from the greater Los Angeles area. He was elected 4 times by his peers to serve as president of the Los Angeles City Council from 2006 to 2012. He served as the council member representing the 13th district, which includes Hollywood, Echo Park, Silver Lake, and Atwater Village, all of which dramatically revitalized under his leadership. Please welcome, and I am honored to welcome, the mayor of the great city of Los Angeles, Eric Garcetti.
Thank you so much, Jordi, and a very good evening. Muy buenas noches a todos. It is a great pleasure to be here, to be back here, but to be back here as your mayor. And I am so proud here in the City of Angels. Thank you. To know the MALDEF story so well. My sister interned with MALDEF, the MALDEF leadership, which has culminated in the incredible leadership of Tom Saenz and the staff, is not only doing well for us in the Latino community, but is reigniting the American dream and ensuring that it isn't just for some, but for all. And I'm so excited to be with you tonight to celebrate your 45th anniversary. I'll always be 3 years younger than you, but it's a great, great anniversary. And you know, the work that MALDEF does is near and dear to my heart, not just because of my family's connection to the work over the years, but making sure that each one of our stories is recognized, that the voice that we look for are not the ones that we hear and the faces that we see, but the ones that we don't hear and that we don't see. For that is the American dream. My grandmother, Juanita, was one of 19 children in Arizona that during the Depression, during the deportations, moved from a small mining village to come here to Boyle Heights. She settled here and met my grandfather, who had fled the Mexican Revolution when he was just 1 year old with his mother. And when I think about her journey, I think about our responsibility to fully integrate from our moments of our toughest challenges, of the discrimination, the racism, of the education systems that have failed us, and those jobs we have not had, to give back. It's why my administration is already working closely with MALDEF, making sure we have a Mayor's Office of Immigrant Affairs, and we push for, even in the midst of stupid sayings from speakers who say we're not going to bring immigration legislation forward, to make sure that we pass comprehensive immigration reform. And we also aren't waiting for Washington. It was here on the steps of City Hall that Governor Brown signed a driver's license bill. It is here in the city that we're holding DACA workshops together with MALDEF and others. We will continue to show America what it means to integrate immigrants here and to stand up for the Latino community and for civil rights, because with MALDEF behind you, you know you're going to win. And I'm so proud in our administration already. We have the first Latina to ever be the chief of staff for any mayor in the city, in this country, with Ana Guerrero, the daughter of a farm worker, to have the first chair of our fire commission as a Latina, Delia Ibarra, and soon, your very own MALDEF alum, as soon as she's confirmed by our city council, Vilma Martinez, Ambassador Vilma Martinez, will be not just a member of, but my hope is she will be president of our Harbor Commission, bringing the leadership that she has always demonstrated here to the city of Los Angeles. So count on me to be a warrior alongside. Congratulations to our honorees tonight. We always have extraordinary folks who are honored here by MALDEF, but I want to thank, again, José Padilla, Paul Schrade, and our hermana, the late actress Lupe Ontiveros, for the work that they did. Let's give them a round of applause and thank them for their extraordinary work. So muchísimas gracias. Have a great evening. Know that we are here to be your partner, and here's to 45 more years of MALDEF making a difference and reminding us what America is all about. Gracias.
Thank you, Mayor Garcetti. We have a lot of Latina activists and Latina professionals from across the country here this evening. Did you know that for 29 of MALDEF's 45 years in existence, it was run by women? Gotta clap for that. That's right. Let's hear for all the Latina leaders who are here tonight. We need to always acknowledge the power of women in civil rights. Tonight, we are honored to recognize MALDEF's former president and general counsel and former United States ambassador to Argentina, Vilma Martinez. Please stand. We are also honored to recognize MALDEF's former president, general counsel, and the president and CEO of the California Community Foundation, Antonia Hernandez. It is also important to know that for MALDEF's 4 vice presidents, 3 of them are women. And continuing on that note, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the chairwoman of MALDEF's board of directors, Charlene Aguilar.
Thank you, Jordy, and thank you all for joining us here tonight as we celebrate another wonderful year of MALDEF's work. I'm honored to be the chair of this organization called MALDEF. I'm honored to serve on this board with women and men I admire and respect. I'm especially honored to stand witness to the tremendous leadership in its President and General Counsel, Tom Sines, and MALDEF's amazingly talented and committed staff. Yes, let's applause. Since its founding in 1968, MALDEF has been the nation's leading Latino legal civil rights organization. Every day, MALDEF promotes change through advocacy, communications, community education, and litigation in the areas of education and employment, immigration rights, and political access. MALDEF strives to bring more and more Latinos into the mainstream of American life, providing better educational opportunities, encouraging participation in all aspects of civil society, and offering a positive vision for the future. Unique to MALDEF is an approach that combines advocacy, educational outreach, and litigation strategies to promote full, active Latino inclusion in all aspects of American society. Litigation continues to be one of the most powerful vehicles we have to ensure that the Latino community enjoys the same rights, grounded in our Constitution, as other Americans. In recent years, MALDEF has won key victories against local and state immigration ordinances and challenged racial profiling by law enforcement agencies. This year, we were victorious in the landmark case, Arizona versus the Intertribal Council of Arizona, in which the United States Supreme Court struck down Arizona's unwarranted restriction on voter registration, concluding that Arizona's Proposition 200 must yield to the National Voter Registration Act. Due to the hard work and ability of our MALDEF staff, Arizona and those states that choose to follow its irresponsible policymaking received a strong message that their illegal practices will not go unchallenged. In another matter, MALDEF's work led to the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Fifth Circuit striking down an anti-immigrant discriminatory ordinance in Farmers Branch, Texas, that would have required every prospective tenant to obtain a city license and would have prohibited landlords from renting to immigrants that the city deemed unlawfully present. These are just 2 examples of MALDEF's incredible work this year, though it is far from over. In the last year, MALDEF has led dozens of meetings on Capitol Hill with leaders of both parties on immigration reform, speaking loudly and proudly on behalf of the Latino community in support of a much-needed path to legalization for millions of peaceful, law-abiding, hardworking, and tax-paying immigrants. From sponsoring the Trust Act in California to limiting deportations of immigrants with no criminal record to fighting for the right to driver's licenses of immigrant youth authorized to remain in the United States under the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, DACA, program in Arizona and Nebraska, our work continues. It continues here in Southern California, and we are fighting for fair employment practices representing car wash workers in the LA area robbed of fair pay under conditions without rest or meal breaks, and for Latino police officers in Westminster, California, who were consistently passed over for promotions and special assignments despite exceptional records in law enforcement. MALDEF has also been at the center of discussions to develop strategies in direct response to the disgraceful decision of the 5-person conservative majority of the Supreme Court in the case of Shelby versus Holder this year. This decision greatly weakened Section 5, a major provision of the Voting Rights Act. MALDEF's litigators continue to work tirelessly to make sure that hard-won rights guaranteeing Latinos access to registration and voting and representation will not be denied. Our challenges remain significant, and we thank you for standing at our side as we fight for the rights of Latinos to work, to vote, to thrive across the United States. We gather this evening to celebrate the careers and accomplishments of some impressive leaders and role models in our social justice community. They have lived lives that share our goals and have directly contributed to meeting those challenges. They have dedicated themselves to safeguarding and expanding the civil rights of our Latino communities. On behalf of our board, I want to once again thank you for joining us tonight and enjoy the rest of the evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Charlene. Let's hear for our Latinas otra vez, por favor. Walmart is our chair this evening, and I have the pleasure of introducing someone with a reputation for being a leader and a visionary in the executive branch of government, the corporate world, and in philanthropy. This dynamic lady proves that when Latinas take charge, positive change happens. When Aida Alvarez was appointed by President Clinton to head the U.S. Small Business Administration, she was the first Latina to serve a president's cabinet. Under her leadership, SBA's lending to women tripled and lending to minorities doubled. Aida is currently chair of the board of the Latino Community Foundation in the Bay Area and a trustee of the National Trust for Historic Preservation. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Walmart board member, Aida Alvarez.
Gracias por esas bonitas palabras. It's a pleasure to be here, and a pleasure to be with so many distinguished guests, not the least of whom are my dear friends, the Honorable Vilma Martinez y Antonia Hernandez, whom I've known for many years. Thank you so much for inviting me. Thank you, Tom, for having me. And many thanks to my Walmart colleagues who have always been so very supportive, and our Sam's Club colleagues. Thank you. I am pleased to be here on behalf of Walmart. I've been a director of the board for over 7 years, and it is an amazing experience to serve on the board of a company with 2.2 million employees. Let me just say that this year alone, Walmart will have promoted 160,000 of those employees to higher positions. Walmart is the leading employer of minorities in the United States. 28% of those associates are managers, directors, and officers. Last year, you heard from one of those associates, Giselle Ruiz. Giselle started out as an hourly associate in the Central Valley, and today she is the Chief Operating Officer of Walmart US. And like Giselle, there are many other such success stories at Walmart. I'm proud of Walmart's relationship with MALDEF, which dates back to the year 2000. But I have to tell you that long before I knew anything about Walmart, I knew a lot about MALDEF, and I was a big admirer of MALDEF. This organization has always been a champion for social justice. And today, you continue to fight the fight for what is right for our community and our country. And I'm so proud of all the accomplishments that we've heard about here tonight and over all those years. Congratulations to MALDEF. Now, I personally have a deep commitment to social justice, and that commitment stems from my own life experiences. I was born in Puerto Rico to young parents. My mother married when she was 15 years old to my 22-year-old father. She was 16 when I was born, and at the age of 9 months, I accompanied my parents to New York City. Puerto Ricans are technically not immigrants because Puerto Rico is part of the United States and we are US citizens. But frankly, setting that aside, our experience is no different at all from that of most Latino immigrants. My parents had to work in factories. They worried that I might not speak English in school. In grammar school, some of my classmates taunted me with the S word, which is no better than the N word. And while I wanted to attend college, my school principal, elementary school principal, insisted that I had to attend a secretarial high school so that I could be prepared for a job. Anyway, I could go on and on. But the good news is that, like so many of us here, I never gave up. And even with a secretarial degree, I was able to attend Harvard College on a full scholarship. I have been presented with many wonderful opportunities, and I've always tried to make the most of them, and always with the help of family and friends. One of those opportunities, as you heard, was the chance to be the head of the U.S. Small Business Administration, and also to serve in the President's Cabinet. Another was to serve on Walmart's board of directors to help make a very good company even better. So tonight, I applaud Walmart and the honorees and MALDEF for taking on challenges. I certainly want to applaud MALDEF for knocking down barriers and creating opportunities for our community and for our country. Because as far as I'm concerned, when MALDEF wins, everybody wins. Congratulations and thank you.
Thank you, Aida. What an inspiration. Anheuser-Busch is also our chair this evening, and I have the pleasure of introducing someone who is the West Coast Region Director for Corporate Social Responsibility at Anheuser-Busch. In this role, she oversees the company's alcohol responsibility and environmental efforts by connecting consumers, wholesalers, retailers, law enforcement, elected officials, educators, and other partners through programs focused on responsible consumption and prevention of drunk driving and underage drinking, as well as improving environmental processes. Please welcome Brooke Roth, Vice President of Corporate Responsibility for Anheuser-Busch.
Good evening. Wow, listening to the accomplishments of MALDEF over the past year really reinforces my excitement about being here with you tonight. And it's really an honor to chair tonight's gala on behalf of Anheuser-Busch and all our employees. But the true honor for me, ladies and gentlemen, is to have partnered, and for Anheuser-Busch, is to have partnered with MALDEF more than 30 years, in helping their unwavering efforts to ensure we all live in a just society with equal rights and representation for all. At Anheuser-Busch, we strive in all we do to produce the highest quality products for you, our customers, while also working to improve the world where we do business. This commitment to support the communities in which we do business and enrich the lives of those living within them was part of our company's founding principles, and it's at the core of our company's mission today, which is to be the best beer company in a better world. That's why over the last 2 decades, Anheuser-Busch has contributed more than $60 million to worthy Latino organizations in the areas of education, economic empowerment, and leadership development. But this is only one component of our company's corporate commitment to causes that are good for society. We're equally proud of our efforts to reduce underage drinking and drunk driving, as well as reducing our carbon imprint and helping our friends in need when natural disasters strike. Our commitment to the communities go beyond financial, though. It's also a personal dedication to service by our employees. Tonight, you honor 3 great examples of personal dedication. Our most sincere congratulations and appreciation to tonight's honorees. Your life work is inspiring and is really deserving of our recognition. Thanks again to the MALDEF staff, the board of directors, and our gala committee members for the work you continue to do on behalf of our community. And congratulations to MALDEF for 45 years of amazing work for social justice. We're excited to partner with you for the next 45.
Thank you, Brooke. Let's hear it for our corporate sponsors, Walmart and Anheuser-Busch. In the past, MALDEF's award for Lifetime Achievement for Excellence in the Arts has been given to some of our country's most impactful Latino celebrity activists. Icons such as José R, who actually grew up in Miami, right? And he was my next door neighbor. Eva Longoria, Johnny Canales, and Linda Ronstadt have received the award of recognition. The recipient of tonight's award is no exception. Tonight, we pay our respect for Lupe Ontiveros with MALDEF's 2013 Lifetime Achievement for Leadership in the Arts. You know, one of Lupe's proudest moments was when she was cast as Dolores by Luis Valdez in the iconic play Zoot Suit. She went on to reprise her role on Broadway and later the film version of Zoot Suit. Tonight we have members from the original cast to help us with our presentation. Please welcome Evelina Fernandez, Dr. Alma Martinez, Belle Hernandez, and Mike Gomez.
Thank you so much. It is such an honor to be here today at MALDEF's annual dinner. Thank you, first of all, to David Damian, to Tom, to the board of directors for inviting us to be a part of this honor. We are so honored, I gotta tell you, because Lupe, for us, was more than a friend. She was a sister, a family member. We spent, all of us spent 3 years with her working in Zoot Suit. And Zoot Suit was a beginning for a lot of our careers, including Eddie Olmos, Lupe, Tony Plana, all of us actually. And Lupe was always such an inspiration. She was born Guadalupe Moreno in El Paso, Texas. That's right. Tejanos in the house. I'm from Dallas, so yeah, Tejanos in the house. She was the daughter of Lucita Castañón and Juan Moreno, middle-class Mexican immigrants who were owners of a tortilla factory and 2 restaurants in El Paso. She graduated from El Paso High School and went on to study at Texas Woman's University in Denton, Texas, where she received a bachelor's degree in social work. That's right. She married Elias Ontiveros, and they had 3 precious sons, and they resided in Pico Rivera, California. Yes. Viva Pico. Que viva. I used to live there too, okay? Lupe was working as a social worker when she saw an article in the newspaper about a need for local film extras. Now, after she saw that, she went out and started working as an extra, but she also joined an organization called Nosotros that Ricardo Montalban had founded in order to get Latinos into the industry. And at Nosotros, she met Ricardo, worked with him, she studied, she took classes, she was in plays. And she also met Jerry Velasco, who became president of Nosotros for 30 years and became eventually her compadre. He baptized Elias Jr. Jerry, of course, now has been elected last week as treasurer of the city of El Monte. Felicidades, Jerry. The casting call for Zoot Suit actually came to Nosotros, and Lupe and myself and a bunch of other actors actually auditioned there. I mean, auditioned at the Mark Taper, but the casting call came through Nosotros. She was such an incredible, incredible actress. We spent 3 years working in Zoot Suit, you know, from the play at the Mark Taper to Broadway and then the film. And her career took off. Of course, she went on to act in numerous films that we all know, like Selena, Real Women Have Curves, yes, The Goonies, and El Norte. She was nominated for an Emmy Award for her work on Desperate Housewives. Yes. And received critical acclaim for her role in Chuck and Buck, for which she won the National Board of Review Award for Best Supporting Actress. She was also nominated for the prestigious Independent Spirit Award. Lupe once estimated that she had played a maid at least 150 times on stage and on screen. And she was quoted as saying, "I'm proud to represent those hands that labor in this country." Hear, hear. I have given every maid, thank you, we're going back, because this is important. I have given every maid I've ever portrayed a soul and a heart. Yes. In part, because of her history in this role, she was chosen as a narrator for the documentary Made in America. She also narrated Manda and Miguel for PBS and the award-winning documentary Parents of the Year, Padres del Año. Let's take a look at Lupe's video profile.
You know, Lupe was just an extraordinary person. She was very funny. She was full of life. She was interesting.
She was like your best pal. You know, she would tell you things. She'd, you know, really just take you into her fold, and we were like, you know, pals.
She was always a lot of fun. I mean, I was in my early 20s, and she was a little bit older than me, but I could not keep up with her. She was always so enthusiastic.
I love Lupe's strength to be fighting, to be laughing, to be dancing, yes, her energy for life was amazing.
I think that's what we all miss, you know, about Lupe. Besides everything else, her passion is those ganas que tenía para vivir, to fight for people. She loved her people. She loved her people.
The great thing about Lupe is she not only received recognition for her artistic work, but she also received recognition for her commitment to community. And I think that was what made her so unique and so special, that, yes, she had her career, but she never forgot about community. And she was the unique combination of those two things.
She always took things by the horn. It's like, we need help with this organization, and she would trump for you to like make sure that you knew about this organization, you supported this organization, and she always knew the power of lending her celebrity to causes, and she was very effective.
She would always tell us, when somebody needed help, whether it was Cesar Chavez or Dolores Huerta or Esteban Torres or Royba or Ricardo Montalban, whomever, come on you guys, let's go help. And that was a force that people needed to deal with, and they dealt with.
She will always sponsor young people to come to see the theaters. She will always go to colleges. Lupe was just passionate about her community.
Lupe Ontiveros, against all odds, coming from El Paso, Texas, very humble, muy mexicanota, prepared herself. She was the best in her field, regardless of what field she was in. She prepared herself. And I think that what she's going to leave behind is going to say, if you really want to make it, and if you really want to get an education, look at what I did. Look at it, against all odds, I was able to do what I did. And that's what I like about Lupe.
She tried to give the roles that she played because she knew that when she was on the screen, she represented more than herself. She was very aware of that.
She didn't mind playing a maid, but she would like to play that other, maybe a congresswoman, maybe an attorney, because she believed in the power of images and that our kids needed those kinds of images so that they could believe that they could do that as well.
You have to be a very special woman to fill up the space that Lupe filled with her spirit, her determination, her perseverance.
That's the beauty of Lupe. And in her field, she's one of the few. Like we have in the labor movement, we have Dolores Huerta, and we have Cesar Chavez. In the entertainment, the female is Lupe Ontiveros.
Ladies and gentlemen, cast member, Zoot Suit cast member, and now a doctora, Dr. Alma Martinez.
Thank you very much. Lupe's legacy of artistic and community work will be admired and remembered forever. I have a special connection with Lupe. I'm from Pico Rivera. And in the late 60s, I was just starting to get my feet wet in theater in high school, timid and scared, but wanting to try it. And my mother had a beauty shop on Passons in Whittier called Ruby's Beauty Shop. And she would say, mija, tienes que conocer a esta señora que es actriz, se llama Lupe. Sí, siempre viene al salón y me pide pelucas y me pide no sé qué para no sé qué audiciones. You have to meet her. So I've known Lupe since the late 60s when she was starting out. And again, for her to take that leap, it's a very difficult business, but for her to take that leap at that, again, with the family, with again, social work, she just jumped into it because it was her calling. And we all have a calling. And I have to tell you, what makes a great artist, there's a lot of talent out there, a lot of talent up here. But there comes a voice once in a while that speaks for its generation, that speaks for its time and place in history. Hers happened to be a time of great struggle, of great lack of opportunities, but the ganas were there. So Lupe was an actor for her time and place in history and will live for many generations because of that. Que descanse en paz. So MALDEF is very proud to present Lupe Ontiveros' Lifetime Achievement Award for leadership in the arts. We're going to present the award to her family. So accepting on behalf of the Ontiveros family, are Elias and Nicolás Ontiveros. Gentlemen, if you could come up, please.
Wow. I guess my mother had always told me, before we go places, she said, "You're always going to sign." And I said, okay. Well, my mom, she was a tough lady, very tough. And I'll tell you why, because she was the law at home. We couldn't get away with anything. We can complain all we want. You can ask my brothers and my dad. They know. And I told my dad and my brother, don't talk back. You know how mom is. Please, just let her be. There were sometimes, my mom, she would sit there really quiet. She'd be, talking to herself. And I go, Mom, can I bother you for something? And she would always give me the evil eye, like, now what? No, I don't want any money from you. Oh, good, sit down. Well, my mom sat down and I told my mom, you're such a good fighter. You really, really know how to get out of trouble. Why don't you become a lawyer? And she said, no, I do not want to be a lawyer, but I want to perform on television and motion picture and be a lawyer. Okay. But she was full of life. She was full of happiness and joy. And, we would sit there in the backyard and she created her own Garden of Eden. She planted so many seeds and they just blossomed. And all the people that came into her life, people like you guys that supported my mom and gave her the love, everything. And as much as you guys love my mom, she loved you the same. And thank you for this special night, and it's an honor to stand here and look at you. And she would always say, for those of you with big hope and dream, never let it go. Follow your dream, because dreams come true. Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Elias Patricio Ontiveros, and I'm Lupe's youngest son. I'm glad to say once again that my father, Elias Ontiveros Jr., was nice enough to join us this evening. He wasn't feeling well, but I kind of convinced him, and thank goodness he made it out, because this is certainly a beautiful event, and this dedication, we're deeply moved. Unfortunately, my brother, Alejandro, lives in Boston, and he unfortunately could not make it out this evening. But I will certainly let him know that that he was missed this evening, and that we'll be seeing him during Christmas. But without a doubt, he's here with us. I just wanted to quickly mention that I was in the car the other day thinking about my mom, and I was listening to KPCC. And there was a show on, they were doing a book review on a book by Mirta Ojito. It's a book called The Hunting Season, and it's about the murder of an Ecuadorian immigrant on the Long Island shores, just a few miles outside New York City. They interviewed the writer, Al Alvarez was the interviewer, and he interviewed the writer, Mirta, and she spoke about the book and the context. And I began to think to myself, if I had my mom here beside me, I could just imagine how angry she would have been to hear of the injustices that continue to take place in this country, not only against Mexican immigrants, but immigrants of all nationalities. And as we move into the 21st century, Latinos are migrating across all parts of this country. MALDEF continues to provide good work to these people in all the different states. Their services are essential, and we need to continue to support their efforts. And that is why my mother always lent her name and her identity and her efforts and her energy and love to MALDEF. I want to thank Thomas Sainz, David Damian, and the rest of the board and the wonderful staff for putting together this wonderful dedication to my mother. Thank you very much, and have a nice evening.
Thank you. We're going to go backstage, and they were actually going to get their award there. And it was just wonderful to see her children, because when we met Lupe, some of them weren't born, and they were like 2, 3 years old. So went by in a flash. And so tribute also for her family that she also helped raise. Thank you so much.
Wow. Una tremenda mexicanota. Never heard that before. Amazing. I have to say, I met Lupe before, and sad to say I'm one of the only Latinos that never got to work with her, but she had a beautiful, wonderful spirit. Our next presenter's first big break came in the Broadway production of Miss Saigon in 1992. Since then, he has been able to garner over 65 television and film credits in TV shows Law & Order, CSI, Kingpin, Sopranos, The Shield, Bones, NCIS Los Angeles, and the film The American Family. I wish I had a resume like this, guys. This is pretty amazing. In his latest role, he portrays farm worker leader Gilbert Padilla in the highly anticipated film Cesar Chavez. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage my friend, Yancy Arias.
Thank you, mi hermano Jordi. It's so beautiful that we're dedicating tonight to so many wonderful people. And Lupe Ontiveros, she happened to be an old friend. I've known her for 10 years. And I just wanted to add that, you know, I don't know if a lot of people know this, but she was an amazing dancer. I mean, this woman made this Puerto Rican Colombian salsa dancer from Broadway put to shame. I mean, what a beautiful force of light she was. I mean, she would have won Dancing with the Stars, you know? And I know she's dancing up there right now with the stars and just shining down on us and her family and all our friends and continually inspiring us to do great things. Now tonight, I am honored to be here to support MALDEF and all of its valiant efforts on behalf of the Latin community. And I'm proud to be a part of such an important film, Cesar Chavez. An American Hero, directed by Diego Luna. The film covers the life of a great leader who formed the National Farm Workers Association with Dolores Huerta and Gilbert Padilla, whose character I portray in the film. As well, we all know that the United Farm Workers Union was later co-founded by Chavez and Dolores Huerta. Today, we affectionately know the union as the UFW, United Farm Workers. The film stars Michael Peña as Chavez, America Ferrara as Helen Chavez, Rosario Dawson as Dolores Huerta, and John Malkovich, who co-stars as the owner of a large industrial grape farm who leads the opposition to Chavez's organizing efforts. He's the bad guy. And what a beautiful job he did. The film follows Chavez's efforts to organize 50,000 farm workers in California, many of whom were braceros, temporary workers from Mexico permitted to live and work in the United States in agriculture, along with Filipino farmers who endured the struggle as well. They worked under conditions that were very poor for the braceros, who also suffered from racism and brutality at the hands of their employers and local Californians. Chavez's efforts was opposed, sometimes violently, by the owners of the large industrial farms where the braceros worked. The film touches on several major nonviolent campaigns by United Farm Workers Union: the Delano Grapevine Strike, the Salad Bowl Strike, and the 1975 Modesto March. Tonight, I'm proud to give MALDEF supporters a special preview of Chavez, an American hero. And forgive me for imposing, but I have to ask, as a fellow business owner, actor, anyone who has the power, who owns businesses big or small, go out to your community and donate 100, 300, 900 tickets the night of April 4th, 2014, okay? Let's donate it to the churches, to your local churches, your local schools. This is one of the most important films for Latin America, and we have to be out there. And Monday morning on the 17th, we have to tell a story that Chavez still lives in all of our hearts. Sí se puede.
Farm workers in Delano, California have begun an unprecedented strike in the Central Valley.
We believe the United Farm Workers and their leader, Cesar Chavez, represent the hope and aspirations of the vast majority of farm workers.
Every American has a stake to bring about social change within the system.
So who the hell is this Cesar Chavez?
Yeah, I heard he's Mexican.
Seems a safe bet.
I'm angry that I live in a world where a man who picks your food can't feed his family.
We don't need you. We want you back to Mexico. Get the hell out of our country.
What do you think you're looking at, huh?
The citizens of Delano, they respect the law.
So do we, especially the Bill of Rights.
Have you seen the headlines they're getting? That's costing us real money, Mr. Bogdanovich.
We don't have to negotiate. We have to dictate terms.
Last report estimates that we've cost them $17 million.
We can't hold on much longer. We're gonna break this damn strike.
We have no laws to protect us here. What if something happened to us? With the boycott, there are no laws to stop us. What would happen to the kids?
This is about being a man.
What are you doing? I'm standing up because somebody has to.
Mr. Chavez!
This is the moment, Cesar. This is what we came here to do.
You can't oppress someone who's not afraid anymore.
I am going to see that movie. I know all of you will too. And tell everybody you know to see that movie. All right, we're going to take a short dinner break. Enjoy your meal. We'll be back in 30 minutes. Did you enjoy your dinner? Are you enjoying your dinner? The chicken's delicious. I had some. It's good. All right, let's get back to our awards program. Toyota is one of our co-chairs this evening. Love Toyota. That's so Jedi. Throughout the years, Toyota has been one of MALDEF's biggest supporters. Here to represent Toyota is Adrian Perez, Chief Audit Director for Toyota Motor Sales USA.
Buenas noches. I know this is tough right after dinner, but thanks for the time. It's great to join you here in Los Angeles. This is the home of our sales and marketing headquarters. We're right down in Torrance, right here, close to the heart of Los Angeles. On behalf of Toyota, I'd like to congratulate tonight's award recipients, for their well-deserved recognition. Maybe we can give them a round of applause to get us back into the groove here. It's no secret that the economic, political, and social influence of our Latino community is great. And as we all know, it's growing rapidly, and it's here to stay. At Toyota, we've known this for quite some time. And we've been working with and on behalf of the Hispanic community for many years. It's also one of the main reasons that Toyota is and has been the #1 automaker of choice among Latinos for the past decade. And it's a relationship we honor, absolutely. And we intend to retain that distinction. We also feel passionate about giving back to the local communities. We have programs that foster literacy among Latino immigrant families, programs that boost child passenger safety for children, and extend education opportunities to Latino students and families. But what's really exciting is the great work that Toyota does with all the fantastic Latino organizations such as MALDEF. As you know, we're here celebrating MALDEF's 45th anniversary. And as we all know, it's the nation's leading Latino legal civil rights organization and is known as being the law firm of the Latino community, which is why Toyota joins you tonight in celebrating the incredible work that MALDEF performs on a daily basis. We thank Tom, the MALDEF staff, the board of directors, for their constant vigilance as protectors of our community. On a personal note, I feel a kinship to the Cesar Chavez movie that was presented. My grandfather was a bracero. And a story I heard growing up, along with, I'm a local, Angelino who went to Cal State Northridge, and we have a strong Chicano studies program that was it's instrumental in us understanding and learning about Cesar Chavez and the great work he did. So once again, thank you for your commitment, recognizing those who are instrumental in advancing the justice for Latinos, and enjoy the rest of the night. Buenas noches.
Thank you, Adrian. I was just enjoying my glass of wine, sorry. Our next presenter and co-chair for the evening is the former California Assembly Speaker who was named U.S. Legislator of the Year and recognized for his bipartisan efforts. He authored noteworthy legislation including AB 32, landmark climate change legislation that has become a blueprint for addressing environmental challenges. He crafted legislation to raise California's minimum wage to the highest in the nation, as well as a bill to make prescription drugs more affordable to low and middle income families. He is currently a partner at Mercury, a leading national public affairs firm where he provides strategic advice and counsel to many prominent clients. He serves on the MALDEF Board of Directors, as well as the U.S. Soccer Federation Board of Directors. Previously, he served on the University of California Board of Regents from 2004 to 2008. During the 2008 U.S. presidential election, he was a national co-chairman for Hillary Clinton's campaign. Please join me in welcoming MALDEF board member, the Honorable Fabian Nunez.
Thank you so much for that kind introduction. When my family first came to the U.S., I think I was 7 or 8 years old. The first time I went to a classroom, they said my name was Fabian. Fabian Nunez as well. Now Fabian, actually. But I want to say what a great privilege it is to be here with so many great people. And certainly want to congratulate MALDEF on 45 years of service to the Latino community. You know, people have said that with age comes wisdom. We're certainly very happy and very lucky to be here and be part of such a wise institution that is MALDEF. We also congratulate this evening's awardees, each with a long record of accomplishments and respect in the community. So it is my pleasure to be serving on the MALDEF board with our great leader, Tom Saenz, who is here this evening. And I want to report that tonight, MALDEF raised an all-time record, over $750,000 this evening. Now, Dr. Burke, who's sitting on my table, said that he would make sure and see to it on his own that we would hit the $1 million mark by the time this evening is over. I'm just kidding, Dr. Burke. We want to also obviously congratulate all the board members and the fundraising committee for the energy and the enthusiasm that they brought to making sure that this event is an overwhelming success. My own time with MALDEF actually goes back to 1994, the days that we marched against the most vicious anti-Latino statewide measure any of us had ever seen in this state, and that was Proposition 187. Antonio Hernandez at the time was at the helm of MALDEF, and I'll never forget what she said the day the initiative was passed by the voters at a similar dinner to this one. She said, "We will persevere." And indeed, we have persevered in California. You know, it was during that time, in 1994, that I personally witnessed the power of a strong legal voice when MALDEF led the fight in the courts to reject this flawed approved law due to its constitutional violations. That is Prop 187. And much has changed since that time, but much hasn't changed. Look no further than the dozens of voter ID laws across the country that aim to repress voter turnout in the Latino and African American community, or the redistricting schemes that implicitly violate the Voting Rights Act in an effort to silence all of our voices. It is during these times when we need MALDEF more than ever to be our voice, to be our champion, to be our vigilant, and a fierce legal guide to preserve the dreams, hopes, and aspirations of all Latinos, not just for this generation, but for future generations to come. And so I want to thank you for being here this evening, and proud to be serving on the board of directors of MALDEF, and proud of the great work that Tom Saenz is doing to take this organization where it needs to go in order that we continue to build the type of dignity and justice for our community. Thank you very much, and have a great evening.
Thank you, Fabian. Not Fabian, Fabian. And, Fabian, we actually have raised $780,000. MALDEF believes in supporting our brothers and sisters in the entertainment industry, producers, directors, actors, writers, and more. Cesar Chavez opens on April 4th. We all look forward to supporting this important film. And now I'm going to bring someone up to the stage who's a phenomenal actress, and she's going to help me add to that $780,000 Can you put the prompter down a little bit? Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the lovely Eddie Gano.
Por si las moscas. Wow. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, I am honored to be here tonight to help support MALDEF. For 45 years, MALDEF has been at the forefront of civil rights litigation, setting landmark precedents in many cases and establishing new systems to hire and promote employees, educate children, and ensure Latinos have equal access to voting. Legal action is one of the most powerful vehicles we have to ensure that the Latino community experiences the same constitutional rights as all Americans. Recently, MALDEF was awarded a grant from Laura and John Arnold's foundation, The Giving Library. Through its video archive, The Giving Library offers philanthropists an innovative way to explore MALDEF's work. The foundation produced the video you're about to see. Let's take a look.
MALDEF was created by a group of community leaders in the Latino community, lawyers and others, who saw the need in the court system for representation of the Latino community and an organization that was dedicated to promoting the civil rights of Latinos. At the time in 1968, the Latino population was concentrated in the Southwest, as well as with pockets in Chicago, New York, and Florida. And in all of those areas where there were significant Latino populations, there were widespread patterns of exclusion, discrimination at work, discrimination in the schools, discrimination throughout society. And there was a need to be able to call on a legal organization to challenge that exclusion and discrimination in the courts.
There's many components of what MALDEF does: litigation, advocacy, and education. And MALDEF has been uncompromising in its efforts to advance the education levels of Latinos in America.
Our effort is to ensure that every Latino has the rights guaranteed them by the Constitution, whether that's in education, or in employment, or in voting, or in ensuring that laws don't target Latinos or others based on their immigration status or their assumed immigration status.
As we all know, the anti-immigrant rhetoric hits across the board and has had such tremendous impact. But the work that MALDEF has done in showing that this Constitution is to work for every single one of us has been so very effective. And it's unfortunate that we have to go to this level, but again, all civil rights, our civil rights are not going to be won by just talking about it. It's going to be about taking the kind of legal action that we need to take in our courts. But if you don't have MALDEF and the kind of experience and tenacity and devotion of lawyers, as well as the talent of those lawyers, nothing will change, and our community benefits by MALDEF's work.
What I'm most proud of about MALDEF is how it has withstood the test of time as an organization for the advocacy and litigation and education of Latinos in America, and that they have been surviving and fighting relentlessly to protect the constitutional rights of Latinos living in America. I take pride in that. I take pride in knowing not only I'm a board member, but knowing that our community is in great hands.
So I'm proud of the efforts of our policy staff, of our legislative attorneys nationwide, from DC to all of the state capitals, in working to ensure that we have laws that better protect the civil rights of Latinos and better serve our national interests in inclusion and incorporation of all communities in our future progress. But we also recognize that the opportunities to push back on those who would seek to restrict the rights of Latinos, who would seek to restrict the application of our longstanding constitutional principles and values, those opportunities, coupled with the challenges of a growing demand for our services, is something that the dedicated staff of MALDEF is looking forward to pursuing with great vigor throughout this decade.
It is a new era. The landscape of America has been changing in a Latino way for a while. I see great things for MALDEF. the future is bright for MALDEF. They have proven time and time again that they are the first organization to take action legally and say we are going to protect our community through the Constitution of the United States. Great things lie ahead. Every challenge that is going to face the Latino community, MALDEF welcomes it.
Yes, you do. Nice job, Tom. Okay, I hope you're not falling asleep. We need you to be awake. So let's wake up. Because MALDEF needs your support today. The legal fights that MALDEF takes on can last for years, and it takes significant resources to take on its powerful opponents.
It's my turn. On your table, you will find an envelope. I don't have an envelope.
They all do.
You took my envelope. Okay, you have my envelope. It's safe to say that most of us here can pledge $45.
We actually need each of you to identify a table captain. So start deciding. Make sure you do it. Okay. Everyone has one? Did everyone pick?
Katie, you're the table captain.
Oh, you already picked. Good. Okay. Okay, so raise your hand if you already have a table captain.
Woo!
I need more hands. More. Everyone? Okay, so this person will be responsible for making sure everyone fills out their forms and turns them in. Everyone can give $45, $1 for each year that MALDEF has fought for the Latino community.
What a wonderful idea.
Right?
Beautiful. It's 45. Just give 45.
And some of you here can certainly give 10 or $100 for each year of MALDEF's existence.
Even more brilliant. That's brilliant, Eddie.
I see some beautiful shoes, some beautiful dresses. I know you guys can afford it.
All right. So, thank you, everyone. Let's see a show of hands of those who will donate at least $45. My wife raised her hand. That's amazing, babe. Your husband raised his hand.
We're really proud of our table.
We have some support here for us standing here on stage, clearly.
The tables have some competition.
Do I see some hands back there?
Show hands.
This is hard.
I feel like people are
wait.
falling asleep.
No. I think they're busy writing checks.
Oh.
Those hands are busy writing checks.
I actually have another brilliant idea, Jordy.
Okay, Eddie, let's hear it.
If, some of you forgot your cash or forgot your checkbook, I'm sure somebody at your table is your friend. They can get you. They can write the check for you and for themselves, and then you can get them back later.
Brilliant.
So don't worry about it. Just tell them, and then you'll get them back. Yeah, I see people writing checks. You're right. I'm very, very excited.
It's exciting to be a table captain. You can add more influence.
I think that table is completely, yay, that table is done.
Woo!
Nice. What about the other tables? Where's the excitement?
Yeah, where's
the Latino excitement? I thought
right.
Latinos were like loud and, excited. Don't let me down, people. Levanten la mano, ¿quién más? I see that table, yes. Okay, I see another one, perfect. I see, oh, yay, okay, I see the envelopes. Really, really nice. Really nice. There's a lot of tables.
So, I don't know. Is there anybody here who would want to donate like $1,000? We'll start with Tom. Tom, will you donate $1,000? Where's Tom?
What is it? I hear Henry.
Oh,
Henry?
right there. We have
Is
we
it
have
Henry?
someone raising their hand.
Henry. Woohoo! I like that. I like that table. Look at them. I hope everyone's quiet right now because they're really like, you know, looking in their purse or in their pockets.
Oh, you have a pen?
And like bringing their wallets out and, oh, we can get you a pen.
Yeah, they'll get you a pen.
Perfect. Do we have a lot of pens? David, Damien, do you know if we can pass them out? That's the least. Got it?
Yeah. I'm going to donate $1,000. Let's go. Come on. Right out.
Round of applause.
It's a write-off. It's all good.
It's a write-off.
Forget about it. Eddie, match me. Come on. Let's do it.
Let's do it. So, who else is going to, who else? Come on. You guys can let us just be the only ones.
Sí se puede.
Sí se puede.
¿Verdad
Can
que
we,
sí
like-
se puede, Eddie? Come on.
Can we all say it together? Will you guys join us? Let's say it together, okay? Ready? We're all gonna say sí se puede at the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Sí se puede. All right, let's do it.
So in a short while, MALDEF staff will come by to pick them up. And now I'm going to turn things over to Eddie so she can introduce our next honoree.
Thank you, Jordi. Okay, well, like I said, sí se puede. We continue with that. Don't forget about it. We continue, but you can still write your checks. Take out the cash. Whatever you need to do. I am proud to present José Padilla with MALDEF's Lifetime Achievement Award for Excellence in Legal Service. José Padilla was born and raised in the Imperial Valley and came from a family of farm workers. José attended Stanford University in the early 1970s when many Latino students felt the social obligation to give back to the communities that raised them. He soon decided that he could best serve his community through legal advocacy. He attended Boalt Hall School of Law at UC Berkeley. After graduation, he started what has become a 35-year legal career with California Rural Legal Assistance, also known as the CRLA. Advocating for the rights of the California farm worker and rural poverty communities. During José's tenure, CRLA has seen its service population grow to over 48,000 annually, while also pursuing impact litigation and developing special projects of critical importance to farm workers, indigenous communities, lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender communities, and dairy workers. The daily journals for Los Angeles and San Francisco selected him as one of the 100 most influential lawyers in California, and was named one of the 100 most influential Latinos in the United States by Hispanic Business Magazine. In addition, the Mexican government awarded him the prestigious Otley Award for his services to Mexican citizens in the United States. Now let's take a look at José's video profile.
Well, I distinctly remember first meeting José when I was a law student at Stanford and he was an undergraduate. And he was articulate, he was passionate, he was compassionate.
José is just a person who listens, he's a person who cares, he's a person whose good heart and smartness radiates off him. You want to help him, you want to march in his army.
What I remember immediately noticing about him, and that has continued through the years, was his incredible passion for the work and for farm workers, and his ability to move in so many different worlds.
You know, without question, he's been a leader in advancing civil rights among Latinos in California, and again, particularly with farm workers. He's been recognized many times over by very prominent statewide and national organizations.
I don't know if there was even a turning point for Jose, where he decided to do this. I think it was, in that sense, it is a calling for him. And he always knew that he would be involved in work on behalf of farm workers, not just in the Valley, but in California, and actually, in many ways, nationally.
Just judging by what he's already accomplished at CRLA, I would certainly hope that he continues to do those two things he's already doing so well, which is meeting the needs for legal services of very low-income people and working for justice in a more systemic way.
Congress eliminated their ability to represent undocumented workers. It eliminated the possibility that they could collect attorney's fees. It eliminated the possibility that they could do class actions, which is all the work you really need, all the tools you really need. And every time they've met that kind of reversal, Jose has figured out a way to continue to do the impact work on behalf of farm workers.
Steadiness and loyalty and courage and staying the course is one of the great lessons from Jose. And then doing that with love in your heart and with that sort of personal touch, he manages to have the steadfastness without the grandiosity or I'm a hero kind of personality you sometimes find with that.
I think at the core, Jose is probably one of the original human rights activists in the United States. He cares about humaneness. And yes, he works on behalf of farm workers, but the values that he is pushing through his work on behalf of farm workers are really about respect for workers, respect for immigrants, and really that all human beings are equal in stature.
You know, the farm workers and Cesar Chavez used to say, si se puede, you know, si se puede. And I think that phrase also really characterizes the spirit and will of Jose. I mean, he really can do it, he will do it, he has done it.
MALDEF is proud to present its Lifetime Achievement Award for Excellence in Legal Service to Jose Padilla.
I think that my tias and my tios would say something about que mentiritas, something like that. I wanted to thank Tom Saenz and Charlene Aguilar for my Stanford days, and the MALDEF board for extending this honor to me and CRLA at this dinner, especially at the moment of your 45th anniversary. In these 5 minutes, as I accept the honor on behalf of CRLA, its staff, and its board members, I want to make 2 comments. One comment as to why this is so meaningful and so personal. In my 35 years, my 35 career-long service to farm workers and other rural poor. And I want to make a second comment about the occasion and about the friends who came. Why is this so personal? Some 40 years ago in 1971, in defense of CRLA, MALDEF co-founder Mario Bledo invoked Chicanismo in that defense. As he testified before the OEO Commission on CRLA that was to overturn the political decision of Governor Ronald Reagan, who wanted to use political veto to destroy us, Mario, also supporting his friend, then CRLA Director, the Honorable Cruz Reynoso, Mario noted that he had been raised since 4 years of age by his mother in the barrios of San Antonio. Mario recalled that even there, most families were migrant families, those same defended by CRLA. Mario saw that it had become CRLA's role to instill faith in California's rural poor communities, especially Chicano communities, faith in the justice system, that the system could work for them too. In Obledo's words, and I know that in many areas of California, this organization is not known as California Rural Legal Assistance, but as the Chicano Rural Legal Assistance, because it helps the Chicano, and to do away with it, I think, would be an injustice to the poor of the state. Mario knew then that in rural places in this state, CRLA was MALDEF, that rural Latino civil rights was CRLA. For those of us rooted in Mexicano parentage, who became politicized by those civil rights, anti-war, Cesar Chavez movements of the 1960s and 1970s, it was a supreme personal question: how would our youthful Chicano idealism evolve into a professional and purposeful life? That is, in defense of Chicano communities, those communities that had raised us. In the city, it was MALDEF that could give you that purpose, defending urban Chicano civil rights. For the farm worker, it was Cesar Chavez Union that could give you that purpose, defending farm worker labor and union rights. But those with rural poverty in our blood, Obledo was right. The C in CRLA stood for Chicano Rural Legal Assistance, and we could lawyer our Chicano politics, our Chicano civil rights right there. So for me, after these 35 years of civil legal service to those rural places, to be honored by the premier Mexican-American, premier Raza, premier Latino, premier Chicano legal organization in this country is as personal as it is humbling. Thank you, Tom, for this affirmation of my choice to give my legal career as a Chicano to CRLA's Rural Legal Service. And so the second comment that I make is to those friends who came. My wife, Deborah, reminded me to do a shout out to Eva Patterson in the form of something poetic in these comments. She also said that I should say for my sister, Eva. And for the record, that's the other Eva. And also for Carlos Moreno. As his writing legacy was coming to a close, Chilean poet Pablo Neruda wrote in 1960 as a tribute to the Cuban people the book Song of Protest, Canción de Gesta. And in that poem, written in the year 2000, he expressed his simple dream vision of global justice. A global justice that would come to pass at the end of the millennium. And his simple dream was that all the world's school children with shoes and justice as ubiquitous as the summer sun. But Neruda reminded us that the justice road to the blessed city was to be long and a journey not taken alone, and the justice task done with many, many other hands pulling alongside, and yet maybe each of us never finished as the justice struggle passes on to other hands. Neruda wrote, porque se me hizo tarde en mis quehaceres, se me pasó la vida en tantas cosas, que dejo mis trabajos a otras manos, y mi canción la cantará otra boca, porque así se encadena la jornada, hasta que de una vida hasta otra vida levantaremos la ciudad dichosa con los brazos de los que ya no viven y con manos que no han nacido ahora. Because I was late for my chores, my life was spent with so many things that I leave my work to other hands and my song will be sung by another mouth. Because that is how the justice journey is linked, until from one life to another we will raise the blessed city, with the arms of those no longer living and with the hands that have yet to be born. In my song of protest, with many, many hands have I joined. After all, God's blessing is not longevity. That is, it's not about lasting the road. Our blessing is to be accompanied. God blesses those on that justice road with companions. Compañeros y compañeras, derived from the Latin words compan, the one who breaks bread with you. We come blessed with those fellow travelers, friends who feed our justice spirit, who inspire us, who sustain us with their own justice work and purpose. And this evening, it is such a special, humbling evening. I thank 3 groups of fellow travelers, of friends who came not just to this feast, but who came to the Neruda journey of the poem. The Sierra Leone family here with its board members and alum, and I thank them for coming this evening. Adrian Andrade, David Martinez, Ramon Romero, Sergio Tapia, board alum Dino Barajas, Jaime Rodriguez, Luz Herrera. Our staff is here, also honored by this. Sierra Leone Deputy Directors Marcela Ruiz, Dan Torres, Litigation Director Cynthia Rice, Education Specialist Francesca Gonzalez, and our developer Kim Jones. This award given to Sierra Leone this evening is yours. And then there are those heroes who also came here to join us for the Justice Ride. Each of you heroes, as former MALDEF Director Joaquin Avila once defined for me. Heroes for Joaquin were all those who fought and fight and support these justice causes. On our side of the line, never wavering fighters without quit. You friends are also here tonight. Major Sierra Leone individual, firm donors, Cypre friends, co-counsel, clients, and you know who you are. Mary Hernandez, Dolores Leal, Tomas Olmos, Shelley Spiegel-Coleman, Mark Coleman, Charles Claver, Sergio Garcia, Amelia Gonzalez, Ira Gottlieb, Fran Perez, Judith Perez. For all of you supporters, if that glass award, that prize, the award that is given to awardees, if that could be shattered and shared, a shard would go to each of you. But I want to end with the biggest blessing of all, thanking my life companion, Deborah, compañera diaria extraordinaria, my daily inspiration, now 33 years inspired, my hero because of your love and fight for Neruda's children in school, who, and I was going to say, who has always advocated those 30-some years alongside, but I would be lying because those of you who know her best, Shelley, Cynthia, Dolores, Tom, know Deborah has always charged, not from anybody's side, no Adam's rib thing there, but always leading from the front. Deborah, you told me to accept this award humbly, remembering those who deserve it, but who will never receive one of these. This, Deborah, is whole, in whole is yours. For your own 30 years of public interest lawyering, defender of the farm worker and the right to unionize, the destitute legal aid client, the bilingual children and their bilingual teacher, defender of juvenile foster care and incarcerated youth, and especially for your litigation against Proposition 187 and 227. And especially, Tom, you remember, for shaming the federal judge in the opening argument in Valeria G. against Proposition 227. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, MALDEF. Thank you, friends who came. Thank you, Deborah, for suffering me these 33 years. And in tribute, that movie to Cesar, I think if Cesar would be here this evening, I think he would not let us forget all those workers, the cooks, los cocineros, las meseras, los meseros who fed us this humbling evening. And I'd like to give them tribute, thanking them with a Cesar Chavez hand clap. Please, thank you. And thank you, Tom, for this incredible, incredible, and humbling honor.
Wow. Sí se puede. Wonderful. Congratulations, Jose, and thank you, Eddie. Ladies and gentlemen, Dolores Huerta was so looking forward to spending the evening with all of you, and especially her dear friend, Paul Schrade. She regrets that she could not be here this evening. The late farm worker leader, Richard Chavez, the brother of Cesar Chavez, created the now iconic logo of the United Farm Workers, which features a black Aztec eagle. Today, the eagle is known as a symbol of hope that has helped carry struggle for the rights of farm workers forward for almost 5 decades. Sí se puede is known as the universal slogan for people's rights across the United States and around the world. The slogan was created by Dolores Huerta. This evening, Dolores is sending an extension of herself, literally. Please welcome Juanita Chavez, the daughter of Richard Chavez and Dolores Huerta.
It is my hero to introduce MALDEF's Lifetime Achievement Award for Community Service. This year, MALDEF has selected activist Paul Schrade, a personal hero and a compañero en la lucha para la justicia. Paul is the former Western Division Director of the United Auto Workers in California, and his involvement with the union dates back to the time of founder Walter Reuther. Paul was also a close friend of Senator Robert F. Kennedy and an aide in Kennedy's bid for the Democratic presidential nomination in 1968. Paul was also wounded on the night Senator Kennedy was assassinated at the Ambassador Hotel in Los Angeles on April 5th, 1968. He continues to be an activist for Latinos and for auto worker issues. Paul found a way to move on. He started working with the Latino community to create a complex of public schools dedicated to Kennedy's legacy on the Ambassador Hotel site here in Los Angeles. Now, at 88 years of age, Paul has the vitality of a much younger man and has dedicated his life to preserving Kennedy's legacy by living the ideals that Kennedy espoused. Let's take a look at Paul's video profile.
Paul is a very humble person. He has never really asked for accolade for himself. He's never promoted himself. And now, in his late years, it's just wonderful to see that he is being recognized for the great contributions that he has made to our Latino community and to our society.
Paul is one of the most gentle spirits I know. He's one of the sweetest human beings you'd ever want to meet. And just being with him, you feel good. But what radiates from Paul is that love, is that sense that we can be better and we can make the world a better place.
He's always open-hearted and loving, and really having something to say about a particular passion that he's on, and somehow is convincing you that you should be on it too. Paul is a boundless energy.
Paul is a brilliant tactician. He really knows how to understand policy and make very difficult policy choices. And that's a skill that he brings to the table. But what really makes him unique is that, and at heart, he's an organizer.
He was that kind of a person that knew how to build coalitions and knew how to connect important people together for the good of society. So Paul Schrade was not a person that promoted Paul Schrade. Paul Schrade was always a person that was always promoting the greater good.
We all admire Paul because he would not give up. And that was the joy for us, was knowing that Paul would be forever fighting, and we need to fight with him, and we need to get this done.
He was not only an associate and a mentor to Bobby Kennedy when it came to labor issues, but one of the biggest things, of course, is when he brought Bobby Kennedy to Delano when Caesar was ending his fast. And Bobby Kennedy had done a lot of things for the Farm Workers Union, during all of that time, but Paul is the one that really made that connection between Cesar Chavez and Bobby Kennedy.
That was very critical to so many people's lives, because if you look across our populations, everyone has a family member who have worked in the fields. And in the conditions of unions, Paul has been a great advocate for the rights of immigrant people within the workplace, which is really the forefront of immigrant rights here in California.
Paul has a long history with the Latino community, with the farm laborers, with Dolores Huerta, but I know him most from his time working with the LAUSD and trying to get schools built in overcrowded neighborhoods, especially on the Ambassador school site.
When the Ambassador Hotel was slated to be conserved, and there was a great push to conserve the Ambassador, it was really Paul who spoke out and who said, we don't need for this to become a mausoleum to the last hour of the life of a great man. What we need instead is for this school to fit into a community that is school poor, that will serve thousands of children instantly on the edge of Pico Union and Koreatown.
And again, with his devotion to Robert Kennedy, he put a lot of his effort and his time to making sure that the Ambassador Hotel would eventually become the Robert F. Kennedy Learning Academy. And we know that he never could have done this without MALDEF, not only in terms of getting the community support, but also getting the legal support that was needed to create the Robert F. Kennedy Learning Center.
And when you believe in something like Paul does, nothing will stop you. And the experience we went through on that June 5th, 1968, will always be in our hearts and in our minds forever for that terrible tragedy. But the joy is, because of the commitment that we all had to Paul and Bobby and the whole notion of social justice, I knew we had reached the point of satisfying what our mission was to make something live and real and genuine in memory of Robert F. Kennedy.
MALDEF is proud to present Paul Schrade with its Lifetime Achievement Award for Excellence in Community Service.
That's pretty difficult to deal with. I do have some notes I made to try to understand this evening and to see what's going to happen tomorrow. On the Cesar Chavez film, by the way, I was lobbied in the lobby, and I know about the film, and I certainly know a lot about Cesar Chavez. At the Robert F. Kennedy schools, there's a theater which used to be the same footprint of the Coconut Grove. It's now a 600-seat theater for students at the school, and I will do my best to see that that film gets there and that we have hundreds and hundreds of students and parents see that film. I'd certainly like to thank MALDEF for this honor and for this understanding of where I've come from. Charlene and Tom, I'm at your table and really appreciate all that's happened tonight. Dolores couldn't be here. I had lunch with her about a week or so ago, and and she tried to make it. She called me this morning and said she could not. And I serve on her board, and appreciate the fact that she continues not only in the Bakersfield community of having staff and people working in those communities, organizing not just on the job, but in those communities. And that's really been my life of over 60 years now of community and union organizing, not just on the workplace, but out in the community. And Teleku is one example of that, and so is the Watts Labor Community Action Committee and the Farm Workers Union. I really appreciate Bill Rosendahl and his comments and being able to work with him, because he was with us that night when Robert Kennedy was fatally wounded as well. And he was one of those great organizers in Indiana that didn't expect to take Indiana, but Bill was a student organizer there. They brought him to Oregon, and after the Oregon vote in the primary there, Bob Kennedy saw Bill at the airport and said, how are we going to do in Oregon? And Bill says, you're going to lose. Well, Bob got very angry with him at that time. Of course, he did lose, but we came to California, and we continued working for him. Robert Kennedy said that one person can make a difference. He knew that that wasn't the whole truth, because it takes many, many people to make a difference. And that's why community organizing and union organizing is so important. I would like to point out, too, that there are a couple of people who were working with us on the school who are with us tonight over at table 3. One of whom is Maria Lopez, and her mother, can't remember her name. I'm sorry, I got it. That's one of the age problems we have at 88, is Sylvia Sosa. Sylvia Sosa and hundreds of parents we took to school board meetings, and there Sylvia was speaking truth to power, taking on the LAOSD, saying, you know, children are our priority. You've got to build that school on the Ambassador site. And she, like many, many parents, was one of the great leaders of that. And that's why I wanted to be sure that she was here tonight, along with her daughter. One thing about Tom Sines is that I spent more time, not on MALDEF questions, but in the broader sense, yes, a MALDEF question. And that was getting that school built. We met at MALDEF headquarters, where he took on the legal strategy and the political strategy that got us that school built. We had to take on a lot of power interests in this city to do that. We had no politician representing the people in that district, from the mayor to the city council and on up through the state legislature, who supported building that school. They all said to us, you've got to make a deal with the Conservancy, which shows the power of the Conservancy. Monica and I love the Conservancy because it does do preservation of important buildings and our culture, but they were wrong on the school. And it took Tom Sines and the help of MALDEF to get that school built. Along with that, you know, we had the help of Victor Viramontes in two ways. Victor was a lawyer for MALDEF, a very young guy, very well trained, but he was the one that took on, again, speaking truth to power in the court, where we had to take on the Conservancy. He was up there standing with the high-paid lawyers of the district and the high-paid lawyers from Gibson, Dunn and Crutcher, representing the Conservancy, and he did his job. We won every one of the 17 points in that courtroom, and I always appreciate the fact that Victor is carrying on here at MALDEF. He's a great guy, building his own family now, and did a wonderful job for us. The school itself is really a work of art, because In that school, there are 4,000 students from a 9-block area. There are no parachuting students in there. They all come from that area, but something was established. Because those kids, for years, were in overcrowded schools. For instance, Maria Lopez, Sylvia's daughter, was at the Belmont High School, built for 3,000 students. When she was there, there were 5,300 students in that school. And so she became a student organizer and was part of getting that school built. And I'm sure that in many of the schools now in the central city have reduced their population, those overcrowded schools. I went, a couple of us went to the Belmont School at 5 o'clock in the morning just to check out the bus system, because that's sort of a bus depot. I went on one bus. I said, where are you going with these students? He says, they're all high school students. They're going to Taft High on the west end of the valley. How long does it take you to get out there? An hour or an hour and a half. Well, how about coming back? He said, well, you know the problem with the west-east traffic these days, which are crowding our streets here in Los Angeles. It takes 4 to 6 hours to come back from that school. Those kids were prevented from getting any kind of after-school activity. There's problems in dealing with parents and students at such distances. And so this is one of the reasons why that school got built. Donald Trump owned that property, and he was going to build 5 towers, the tallest one in the United States there, but finally backed off. But we had him dead to rights, because under eminent domain, we had the right to that property. And I can always, one of my visions of getting a school on that was having the children of that community ringing that 24 acres of property saying, get off our property, Donald Trump, you're fired. And he did. And I got to know the vice president of his organization who headquartered there, and she finally knew they had to give up. Robert Kennedy's legacy of peace and social justice is well known. What is not too well known is that he invited Soviet Ambassador Dobrynin to his Attorney General's office one night during the Cuban Missile Crisis. And he said to Dobrynin, look, we're having problems with our military and with our CIA. And Khrushchev has got to understand that. Well, that message got through to Khrushchev, and Khrushchev and Jack Kennedy began dealing to settle the Cuban Missile Crisis. It's one of the great things that I've always admired about Robert Kennedy. The hope of dealing with war and peace in this country is still not resolved. We've been in too many wars, too many people, particularly working families, have given up people to the military and have died or have been wounded badly. One of the things that we should understand is that we are all immigrants or from immigrant families. I am, all of us here are, most everybody that we know. In fact, the DNA studies now show that all of us, and for the last 50 or 100,000 years, came from a tribe in South Africa. So we can all consider ourselves immigrants. Even the people, even the Native Americans of this country were immigrants from Asia. And this is something that we've got to understand, that we're all immigrants. We have to stand with the immigrants who are under such great pressure in this country right now. We've got to tell the politicians that we've got to build an American based upon all of the immigrants. Every person in the Congress is either an immigrant or a member of an immigrant family, and they're not doing their jobs. So I say to MALDEF, let's keep up the good work. I really appreciate what you've done for me and presenting me in this way. What I also would like to say to you, as we say with the farm workers, Viva MALDEF. Let's hear you say that. Viva. Viva MALDEF. Viva. Viva MALDEF. Viva. Thank you.
Woo! And now, the moment we've all been waiting for. It is my honor to introduce a leader who has dedicated his life's work to advancing rights of Latinos in our country. Please join me in welcoming Thomas A. Saenz, MALDEF's president and general counsel.
Good evening, everyone. All right, I know it's late, and if you haven't dug into the dessert in the middle of your table, you really should be doing that right now. I recommend it. I'm a little nervous because I know, first of all, that members of my board and maybe some of my predecessors are going to chastise me tomorrow for the fact that this dinner has gone later than it should have. Nonetheless, I have a few things to say, so I hope you'll indulge me. Let me begin by thanking all of you for being here tonight, as you have year after year, to demonstrate your support and partnership for the work that MALDEF does. More specifically, let me begin by thanking our MC, Jordi Villasuso, for his terrific stewardship of this evening. An evening of inspiration and energy that I hope all of you have felt. I also want to thank my board of directors, even the ones who will chastise me tomorrow. Many of them are here tonight because we have quarterly board meetings tomorrow, and if they are here, I would ask our board members, both past and present, to please stand and receive the acknowledgement of the crowd for your efforts on behalf of MALDEF's important work. Of course, as you all know, Los Angeles is MALDEF's headquarters. So many of our staff, I hope, are still here this evening, and I would ask them, all of whom make daily sacrifices in support of the community and support of MALDEF's mission to promote the civil rights of all Latinos living in the United States. Would the staff please stand and accept the acknowledgement of all of us for your sacrifices. As I said, tonight has been an evening of inspiration and energy. And in no small part responsible for that are the folks, the team, that puts together this event and at least 3 others across the country that are designed to ensure that our partners understand our devotion to them as well as to the mission that they share. Let me acknowledge David Damian Figueroa, Cynthia Gutierrez, Stephanie Loera, Jose Delgado, and the many others on the team that have put together this tremendous event tonight. And I have to, once more, thank our tremendously inspiring honorees who have tonight, with their words, as well as with the recitation of their accomplishments, again catalyzed change in this country to improve its well-being and to improve its future. The inimitable and much missed Lupe Ontiveros, whose inspired irreverence has catalyzed so much activism and change in this country. To the Ontiveros family, to her sons, thank you so much for allowing us to honor Lupe this evening. To the dedicated and genius José Padilla, whom I sat with 2 days ago in Washington, D.C., as he recited to us that he headed an organization that was the most attacked legal services organization in the country. But he said it without any fear, but with the inspired confidence of a leader who understood the importance of ensuring that every individual had representation in the legal system despite the aims of those who ought to know better, who would seek to limit the most vulnerable from being represented in our system of justice. Thank you, Jose, for allowing us to honor you this evening. And of course, the tireless Paul Schrade, who over many, many years confronted powerful and celebrated forces in this city who wanted to identify the legacy of Robert F. Kennedy in a building. And he spoke truth to power and said to them that that great man's legacy lay in services and education for children, more so than in any brick or mortar. And in doing so, he changed the landscape, literally and figuratively, of this entire city. Thank you, Paul, for allowing us to honor you this evening. Now I have to say, they've already been acknowledged, but I have been the president and general counsel of MALDEF for 4 years, and that pales in comparison to two of my predecessors who are here tonight and whom I want to again acknowledge. It's actually the first time in my 4 years that one of these predecessors has been here, and so I have to take a moment to thank my profession-long mentor, Ambassador Vilma Martinez. Thank you for being here tonight. And my longtime boss, she has a saying, once a Maldefian, always a Maldefian. In my mind, it's always once a boss, always a boss. So let me also acknowledge, of course, our tremendous Antonio Hernandez, who is here as well. A little over 2 months ago, our nation embarked upon a series of commemorations of civil rights landmarks, of civil rights accomplishments, beginning with the 50th anniversary of the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom. As with any commemoration, this commemoration, which will last over several years, will be in many ways bittersweet. An element of that bittersweetness comes from those who we have lost. And tonight, I want you to join me in a brief moment of silence in memory of one of those we have lost. And that is an individual whose living legacy is embodied in two of his children who have committed over many years to MALDEF. This Chicano activist, renowned artist, poet laureate, one of the founders of the Royal Chicano Air Force, was the father of a vice president of MALDEF and the father of a long-serving board member and leader of MALDEF's board of directors. He died a few short weeks ago. Please join me in a moment of silence in honor of Joseph Ernesto Montoya. Thank you all. As I said, we have embarked as a nation on commemorations of civil rights anniversaries. These are in part celebrations and deserved celebrations of what has been accomplished in the intervening half century. Here in California, for instance, within that half century, as my friend and boss, Fabian Nunez, mentioned, we are only 19 years removed from the days of Proposition 187 in this state, the days when this state was the Arizona of the country, leading the way, regrettably, in targeting and seeking to remove peaceful, contributing Latino immigrants in this state. But here, a mere 19 years later, California is a paragon of immigrant integration. We have recently come out of a legislative session that resulted in not only the enactment of the Trust Act that will prevent the unjust removal of so many innocent immigrants swept up unconstitutionally by police and arrested for minor crimes. We have come out of a legislative session that will, for the first time in 20 years, provide driver's licenses to those many who toil to make our economy work. We come out of a legislative session that has provided the most progressive defenses against employers who would retaliate and target their employees by contacting immigration authorities and seeking to have them removed for the audacity of asserting the rights that belong to all. California has come a long way in 19 years, and our nation has come a long way in 50 years since the March on Washington. But we continue to face challenges. The Voting Rights Act, 48 years old, faced the impact of the decision of a majority of the Supreme Court, as mentioned by our board chair, Charlene Aguilar, in Shelby County versus Holder. A decision in June that would take the most powerful tool ever created in civil rights law and at least temporarily disable it from providing protections for those who would seek to exercise that most foundational of rights, the right to vote. Ever since Latinos were included in 1975 in the Voting Rights Act's protections, an effort, by the way, undertaken by folks within this room to ensure that that most powerful of civil rights acts would be available to the Latino community to assert and exercise freely its growing power to determine the destiny of this nation. But with the Shelby County decision, we face increasing challenges across the country, epitomized perhaps by the decision less than 10 days ago in the city of Pasadena, Texas, which decided to change its city council from a full single-member district alignment to one of 6 single-member districts and 2 at-large city council representatives. The sole purpose and effect of that change was to ensure that the growing power of the Latino community in that city would be stopped, to prevent the Latino voters from controlling a majority of that city council. MALDEF is at the forefront in both the halls of Congress and in courtrooms across the country, and will be at the forefront in ensuring that the legacy of Shelby County is not what the majority of the Supreme Court intended, to have us live in a fantasy land disconnected from reality, in which they could find no contemporary evidence or insufficient contemporary evidence of the continued need to defend vigorously the voting rights of every American. This obligation thrust upon us involuntarily to respond to Shelby County by seeking legislative change, by arguing in the courts to prevent previously covered jurisdictions from continuing to deprive the rights to participation that constitutionally belong to all of us, is also an opportunity. Thrust upon us or not, it is an opportunity to ensure that a part of the commemoration of the half-century of civil rights achievements, beginning with the March on Washington, continuing next year with the Civil Rights Act of 1964, and the following year with the Voting Rights Act of 65 and the Immigration Act of 65, that those commemorations are an opportunity to reboot, to ensure that our civil rights laws will serve us well for the next half-century. And that is a particular obligation of the Latino community, not simply because we are now the largest minority group in the nation, but because our experience, epitomized so well by MALDEF's efforts over 45 years, our experience with the legal system is one of struggle. Struggle to ensure that civil rights tools will serve our community and its experiences well. We have an opportunity thrust upon us so unwelcome, but still an opportunity to ensure that Civil Rights 2.0 will serve our community well. It begins by ensuring that our Congress understands that we expect it not to be a one-note violin, a one-trick pony. We expect it to act both on immigration reform and a voting rights fix in the same congressional session. But one of the greatest challenges for us here in Los Angeles is to recognize that Shelby County has fixed the attention of progressive forces nationwide on those previously covered jurisdictions under Section 5 of the Voting Rights Act. Now, that is unquestionably critically important to the Latino community, because among those previously covered jurisdictions are the states of Texas and Arizona, and we know with their ongoing history of discrimination in voting through proof of citizenship requirements for registration, through voter ID provisions that seek to disenfranchise so many. We know how important that is to our community. But it has regrettably taken attention away from the challenges that we continue to face in California. Because despite its recently reconfirmed legacy, its reconfirmed status as a leader in immigrant integration, we still face challenges here. Some of those we are pursuing in court on behalf of the most vulnerable workers: car wash workers, farm workers, restaurant workers, parking lot attendants, whose rights are still not completely vindicated in this progressive state. But we know, even within the realm of voting, despite the progress that we have made, we face challenges. The challenge when Latinos were introduced to protections of the Voting Rights Act in 1965 was about preventing exclusion. Our challenge today in California is about preventing limitation, where judges, political leaders who ought to know better will cite our progress and say, "You've had enough. You've achieved significant representation," even when that representation does not remotely reflect the population that ought to be determining the future of this state. I've mentioned previously in this room, there are 9 counties in California, including this one, that should have created an additional Latino majority supervisorial district and failed to do so. Nine counties is daunting. In these cases, it's expensive, it's a lot of work. But I've recently been challenged by someone I respect greatly. And I say tonight, MALDEF will challenge in court the failure to recognize the strength and growth of the Latino community in Los Angeles County and seek to ensure that that Board of Supervisors will be represented by 2 selections from the Latino voting community. So much of the commemoration that began 2.5 months ago has focused on the Reverend Martin Luther King's speech at the March on Washington. And so much of that commemoration has focused on his iconic, well-repeated phrase of "I have a dream." And in the Latino community today in 2013, we have our dreamers. It includes not just those youth who have led us in the fight for immigration reform, but every dreamer within this room. But when I recall King's speech, I recall another line. He said, "We will not be satisfied until justice rolls down like waters and righteousness like a mighty stream." In this state, whose politics has been so shaped by water, in my mind, Dr. King envisioned this state being in the lead. And when I envision those words becoming true, I see in California justice, righteousness, rolling down from the north all the way through the south to the border, and preserving the voting rights of every Latino in every board of supervisors, in every congressional district, in every state legislative district, and down to the border, ensuring that those millions in this state and across the country have contributed over years will have their rights vindicated and recognized imminently by our Congress. Together, we can break the dams, we can stop the obstructions, we can do it with the collaboration and partnership of all of you. We will work to ensure that in this state and across the nation, justice will roll down like waters and righteousness like a mighty stream. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tom. MALDEF has made significant gains in the area of civil rights in this country, but we still have a long road ahead, and MALDEF will continue to fight the good fight. Let's give a warm round of applause to all of tonight's honorees. I'm honored to be here as your MC this evening, and such a wonderful, prestigious event. We hope to see you again next year at MALDEF's 2014 Los Angeles Awards Gala. Thank you, and good night.